Alright guys, welcome back to another requested video. This one is from Godzilla Kiryu, and they asked what my take would be on crafting a new monster movie, especially one that could potentially feature some heavy hitters, and they referenced Spacegodzilla or Rodan. And you know what, that got me thinking. With the buzz around the next Monsterverse installment, and the fact that we haven't seen Rodan since King of the Monsters, it's got me thinking, how would I unleash these titans upon the world of Godzilla and Kong? So buckle up, because we're diving deep into my vision for a potential Monsterverse showdown. Let's start with the cosmic terror himself, Spacegodzilla. Now, we don't have confirmation that Spacegodzilla is going to be the villain of the next Monsterverse film, but it's been sort of hinted and likely that he will. So, if this is the case, this is how I would do it. How would I bring this crystal-clad behemoth into the Monsterverse? Well, I'm envisioning him as an ancient alien force, something that predates even the awakening of most titans. Perhaps he clashed with King Ghidorah in the distant past. Maybe even an uneasy alliance existed between them, explaining Ghidorah's extraterrestrial origins. And just like in his debut in '94, I'd want his arrival to be a sudden, devastating surprise attack. No slow buildup, just BAM! He's here, and he's bad news. Now, his origin. The G-cells in space idea is classic Spacegodzilla. Tying that into the Monsterverse, however, is a tricky part. Maybe, and this is just spitballing, remnants of Godzilla's cells were somehow propelled into the cosmos after one of his many ancient battles, or even after the King Ghidorah battle. I'm not entirely sure. Here's where I'd love to hear your theories in the comments. Maybe it's something entirely new and more sinister. An intentional seeding of Godzilla's DNA by an unknown alien intelligence. Who knows? Regardless of his exact origin, one thing's for sure. If Spacegodzilla is the villain, he needs to be even more powerful and intimidating than what King Ghidorah was. Think about it. Ghidorah was a world ender, but Spacegodzilla brings a different kind of dread, a crystalline corruption. His motivation? Complete and utter takeover of Earth. He's not just here to destroy, he wants to terraform it, to establish his own crystallized empire, twisting our world into something alien and hostile. And you know Godzilla is not going to stand for that. He'd be absolutely furious to face yet another invader threatening his territory. Meanwhile, Monarch would be in absolute panic, scrambling to understand this new threat, realizing their conventional weapons are utterly useless. Maybe, just maybe, they would be forced to consider some radical new technology, a Monsterverse equivalent to Mogira? Now, what about the King of the Skies, Rodan? We last saw him bowing to Godzilla in 2019, but where has he been since? Honestly, the idea of him just chilling in a volcano somewhere is kind of funny and plausible. Maybe he's just recuperating or simply staying out of the major conflicts. Who knows? But when Spacegodzilla arrives, Rodan needs to return, and he needs to be a key player in the fight. I'd want him to step into that classic sidekick role for Godzilla, like we saw in some of the Showa-era films. Imagine him as the swift aerial support, harassing Spacegodzilla, protecting Godzilla from aerial attacks. And to give his return some real emotional weight, maybe, just maybe, he makes a heroic sacrifice to turn the tide against Spacegodzilla. A way of truly redeeming himself for his initial allegiance to Ghidorah. And visually, I'd keep Rodan largely the same in his 2019 design. He looks fantastic. But, and this is a big but, let's unleash Fire Rodan. Imagine him being able to unleash a devastating beam of pure fire from his beak. It would add a whole new layer to his offensive capabilities and make him a much more significant threat to Spacegodzilla. In terms of plot points, I'd want at least two major confrontations solely between Godzilla and Spacegodzilla. This needs to be a Godzilla-centric film, through and through. While Kong is amazing, this feels like Godzilla's fight. Kong can take a backseat this time, maybe dealing with a secondary threat or protecting humanity elsewhere. We definitely need at least one impactful battle between Rodan and Spacegodzilla to show just how powerful this alien invader is and raise the stakes. And of course, the grand finale. All of them duking it out in an epic, earth-shattering clash. Humanity in all of this, they'd be reeling. Spacegodzilla's arrival would be another catastrophic event, potentially even worse than Ghidorah's Titan awakening. Cities would fall and the world would be on the brink of extinction. Visually, I'm picturing a blend of the dark and serious tone of the 2014 Godzilla with the epic action sequences of Godzilla vs. Kong and the New Empire. Maybe a little toned down, but still pretty action heavy. It needs to feel weighty though, and impactful, but also deliver those awe-inspiring monster brawls. As for human interaction, honestly, unless there's a truly compelling human story to tell, I'd lean towards minimal focus on them. Let the Titans take center stage like they did in the New Empire. However, if a great human element could be woven in, exploring their desperation and resilience in the face of this alien threat, I'd be all for it. So there you have it, my take on how I'd bring Spacegodzilla crashing into the Monsterverse and reintroducing the mighty Rodan. Essentially, I'm envisioning a major upgrade and reimagining of Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla from 1994, with the stunning visual fidelity and scale of the modern Monsterverse. So I want to thank Godzilla Godzilla Kiryu for the request, and I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of my ideas? What would you do to introduce Space Godzilla and bring Rodan back? Do you agree or disagree with my approach? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And as always, stay big G fans.